Hi, I'm Bob Blanchard. I am senior editor with CE Pro Magazine, and today I am speaking with Randy Blanchard from Vanco. Randy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great as always. And how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you. Today, we're going to talk about home theater, and in particular, because that's a very broad topic, we're gonna focus in on loudspeakers and what Vanco is doing in the loudspeaker category to meet all of dealers' needs today in the market with so many different things going on within home theater.
Sounds great to
My
me.
my my first question is, how has the design of home theater evolved as more and more homes have adopted immersive audio technologies?
That's a great question. Now, I do want to preface this by saying when I talk about speakers, I'm going to talk about architectural speakers because that's the world we live in. So let's go talk about your question there. So yeah, as we've seen more and more of immersive technologies, and we know this is not new. I remember back in the 80s selling Yamaha DSP ones. But in today's world, it's gotten much, much better. We know that there's been a emphasis on proper speaker placement, proper speaker performance. So it's become critical for speaker designers to think about immersive audio instead of just two channel or stereo.
Okay. Elaborating on this evolution, how has the evolution and growing diversity of home environments that are now employing immersive audio systems impacting the design of loudspeakers?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a good one. So if we talk about dedicated rooms, the home theater room, if you will, um, hopefully, usually those rooms are created from drawings. In other words, before the drywall goes up. So speaker placement, you put them exactly where you need to go. You make sure that the construction is proper for that. But more and more people are putting immersive systems in the family room, the living room, multi-purpose rooms, where these are not ideal applications. So as speaker designers, we have to make sure that we have a variety of options for when nothing is optimal in the room. So we have to be more flexible. We have to make sure that we're giving the integrator more options to provide their customer with the best experience.
Okay. Within this world, what are the key elements to designing a high-performing loudspeaker, including, obviously, as we're talking about today, specifically architectural loudspeakers?
Oh yeah. So it's interesting, and we'll probably talk more about this, but in the architectural speaker business, not a lot has changed. Materials have gotten better, but the overall design, what we call the infinite baffle design, still is predominant, except for Beale Street, of course. So starting with the very basics, you have to make sure you're choosing the right drivers, you're choosing the right components. If you're like us and you have a just enclosure design, you have to make sure that it's just more than the sum of the parts. It can't be just put a bunch of parts together and build a loudspeaker because it looks good. And you have to listen, and you have to calibrate, and you have to have the right equipment to test and test and test and test to make sure that everything you're delivering is optimal. And again, in an infinite baffle design, that's a different creature, because when you're doing that, I have to think of all the variables in the ceiling or in the wall, the space, the gaps, the fillings, and I have to make sure my speaker can accommodate those. Or you get away from that design, as we've done, and design the perfect loudspeaker regardless of the wall. Hope that makes sense. Or ceiling.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I want to bring up a question that is related to design, and it's probably an overlooked part of the design process, particularly with architectural loudspeakers. And that is the ability of architectural speakers to maintain isolation and to minimize the leakage of sound in adjacent rooms. How is Vanco and its brands addressing this problem?
Oh, so again, we talk about the fact that the architectural speaker came out in the late 80s, let's say. And it's an issue because we know that just as much sound comes off the front of the woofer comes off the back of the woofer. So you have this sound migration into the cavity, whether it's a ceiling cavity or the wall cavity. You have this migration, and the sound is going to couple. It's going to couple to whatever it hits. If it's the floor above, if it's the wall, if it's the ductwork, it's going to hit it. And once it does, it's going to resonate that. This has always been an issue. Some installers, some integrators will try to fill with insulation, build back boxes. There's a lot of things they attempt to do. How we address it is completely different. What we did with Beale Street is we looked at a design that's been around since the 30s, and you know this, the infinite baffled, I'm sorry, the transmission line loudspeaker. So we took a transmission line loudspeaker, which is a brilliant design when you want to generate bass from small drivers. And we were the first people to ever put it in the wall or in the ceiling. That's our patent. So what we've done, because we take the back wave that's problematic for everybody else, in our design, we harness that back wave. We actually fire it to the back of our enclosure, send it out 6 tuned ports, and then fire it back into the room. Now, because we do it that way, we're not subject to the issues and problems that virtually every other architectural speaker manufacturer is prone to and has to address. And because we always know the response of our loudspeaker, we can tune our speakers better because I don't care about the enclosure. I don't care how big or small it is. So I can tune my speaker better. I can deliver a sound that is comparable to any great cabinet loudspeaker, and I do it without a footprint.
Okay, Randy, kind of elaborating on the problem of sound leakage. Does minimizing sound leakage help to create a more conducive listening environment in home theater spaces for end users?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, before I worked for Beale, and I was an integrator for 22 years, and I know there can't be an integrator out there that didn't get the phone call. I can't play my home theater loud enough because the kids are sleeping upstairs. I can't play my music the way I like to because they can hear it in the room next door. So people can't enjoy what they want to enjoy in many cases, in some cases, because of all of that resonance traveling throughout the house. Again, ductwork, pipes, anything that vibrates is going to carry that sound. So it makes the listener have to dial back what he wants to do. And that don't make no sense to me.
Yeah, it takes away the fun factor of the experience, whether it's music or home theater.
Amen.
Now, Randy, compared to say 5, and we've kind of danced around this maybe a little bit, but compared to 5 or 10 years ago, how did today's home theater speakers' performance, not only in terms of sound quality, but their ability to minimize sound leakage compared to the older previous generation of products?
Oh, we didn't tap around it. Look, again, it's just amazing to me. I mean, I remember installing ADS branded speakers in Boston and other great brands back in the day. And you look at our industry and speaker manufacturers, great speaker manufacturers, spend millions of dollars researching cabinets, developing cabinets that make their speakers sound great because it's more than just a sum of the parts. But look at our architectural speaker industry. Other than great advancements in crossovers and great advancements in drivers, the fundamental problem with architectural speakers exists today. We haven't changed that design other than, us and maybe a few other people. It's still that infinite baffle design that is fundamentally flawed. And most speaker manufacturers, I don't mean any disrespect to them because they're great manufacturers, but they just say, this is the way it is. Not for us. We just don't believe in this is the way it is.
Thank you, Randy. I do have one final question for you. Where can people go to learn more about Vanco and the Beale Street audio brand on the internet?
Excellent. So you go to vanco1.com and you can click on those, or you'll see all the Vanco brands. Vanco acquired Beale Street Audio, by the way, about 5 years ago, a little bit more. I joined the company to drive the brand because I believed in the design when I saw it many, many years ago. But they go to vanco1.com. You can click on Beale. What I really encourage everybody to do is go to the learning tab and watch our videos. We've recorded great videos on Sonic Vortex, our patent on Beale Street, and not really all the Vanco products, but there's also a learning element in there that will teach you all of the things you and I just talked about and why we do what we do and why it's so much better. I shouldn't say that. It is so much different than the rest of the industry.
Thank you, Randy. I want to thank you for spending a few moments of your day with me to talk about Beale Street.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm dragging you back over to my center screen. There we go. So absolutely, it's been a great pleasure. I got to say, I've been a fan of yours for many, many, many years.
Thank you.